Okay, I got the center link or drag link pulled down from the idler. I got her broke loose with the massive pickle fork, and I'm just looking at the exhaust header, and I can see a shiny spot right there. Just pointing to it. Yep, right there. And that was where it was rubbing before I changed out the motor mount. You see I've got plenty of room now to swing this thing around. So I've got good clearance. In fact, I'll come around to the other side and show you. Yep, showing you all up in here. I've got a ton of room now. Well, that clears. But I'm pretty sure, in fact, I can see where it was rubbing a little bit. Like it was rubbing right there. I was thinking maybe the drag link was rubbing right there as well, but I think it's down too low. So that's where that was rubbing. But I don't think it's going to rub now, but just for the heck of it, I'm probably going to go in and clearance that little spot on the header just to be sure that I don't have any rubbing problems, because I can guarantee you if that was staying on that exhaust header for any length of time, because you can see I've got plenty of clearance now. I picked up, I think, close to a ½ an inch clearance, which is what I needed. I certainly don't want to have this happen to the new one. Hey, when I get this thing out, I'm going to dissect it just to show you guys what that looks like inside. It's not the first one I've dissected. I know a lot of people think it's just a ball and socket, which it's not. And I'll show you guys why this thing goes loose, because that Moog Problem Solver, they call it the metal gusher bearing. Where this thing is bushed, it is not a metal gusher bearing. It is some type of elastomer, you know, rubber, urethane, some type of polymer, whatever it is. And they definitely don't hold up like metal does, especially if they're surrounded by heat like this was. Hey, just showing y'all what I'm working with. Here's the idler that came out of the car, and actually I had to kind of jog my memory a little bit and go back and look at my records. I believe this actually was boxed and sold to me as a TRW, but it's the exact same forging as the Moog. Some people say Moog. And you can see this one says Problem Solver on it. Supposedly that's the best one they do, but I guarantee you I've had Problem Solvers before, and this thing does not have a rubber bushing in it. I mean, it doesn't have a metal gusher bearing on this end. It only has it on this end, which is fine. You can see the metal gusher bearing there. It's got 3 slots in it to allow the grease to flow through it when you pump it in through this hole, which I'm gonna have to put a grease fitting on. Same thing here. I had a real nice angle grease fitting, which makes it a lot easier to grease the vehicle with the headers on it. So I'm probably not going to use the supplied fittings. I'll either attempt to reuse this one, or I think I have a bag of these somewhere. So I'm probably going to put one of those on here just like that. And again, just showing you, you know, how spent this one is. So we'll get this done. The other thing I noticed, I actually had used the washers on the outside just to spread the load. I know the instructions always say if it comes with 2 washers, put one on each end. But I guess it varies from car to car, because I cannot get one of these idlers to fit in with even one thin washer. It fits pretty snug the way it is. So the only thing you want to be careful about is not squishing the metal together on both ends on the K-member, you know, where that bracket is. You don't want to damage that. So I'm just going to take my time on that and fit it out, and I'm assuming that the thickness on these two is probably the same. I'll take these bushings out. I'll probably go ahead and mic it, so I know before I don't have to fool with it or anything. I'll check the distance from here to here as well as on this one and see if they're the same. Just showing you all for posterity. I'm going to take this and mic it best I can. Doing it one-handed. Just like that. It looks like it's micing out to like 1.260 or 2.260. 2.260. Let's see what the other one mics at. Make sure I get this right. It's moving around on me. And this one mics out at 2.74. So 74. Maybe I didn't catch this one right the first time. I'm getting 265 now. So I'm showing 10 thousandths difference. So this one actually is a little thicker maybe. Unless I'm just not hitting it right. No, there we go. I was doing something wrong. So 265 and get it right in the middle. Yeah, 265. If I really compress it, it's probably, I'm having trouble getting a consistent reading for some reason. Just go around the ends. If I go right on the ends, I get 255. Go right on the ends. Yeah, about 255. Okay, so we'll say they're pretty much the same width. I'll test fit it in the car before I go through the other rigmarole, but I'm going to say these are pretty much the same part. Just guessing, I would say that I'm going off of memory. I'm pretty sure my record showed TRW was this one. So I wonder if maybe there was just a Moog has a lower end that they sell under the TRW name or something, or for whatever reason it didn't get the gold plate with the Problem Solver name. Not sure if one's really better than the other, but they're definitely the same forging. Kind of weird. And just showing you what comes in the bag. Oop. All right, I don't remember this, but they only gave me 2 of these seals, which I'm pretty sure I'm supposed to have a thin one of these the same diameter. I'm not sure what happened there. That kind of sucks. Maybe I'll reuse one of the old ones here. Oh well. Sure. Kind of weird. Yep, looks like they screwed up. They gave me 2 in the bag for this part. You get one on this end. But I'm pretty sure that's not going to work on that. You have to really stretch that over. I guess you could. Yeah, maybe it will. Yeah, maybe that's the way they do it. Sure. Yep, they had it right. How about that? I don't remember those being the same. You have that stretched right over on the short end, and you got the thick one on the longer sleeve sticking out. All right, I'll just put in my hardware, and we'll get this stuffed in the car. Oh, first I got to clearance the header. I forgot about that. Hey, just gonna crawl under here and show you guys something. I know I mentioned that I don't put the washers in between the ears when this goes in, and I'll show you why. I'll try wiggling this back and forth. I don't know how well y'all can see it. Let me move that up and down a little. Can you see that move? I can't fit the thickness of one washer on the top there just to even get it to squeeze in. So if you have the same problem, I wouldn't worry about it. That little bit that those ears are going to compress when you tighten this down is not going to hurt anything. If it fits that tight already, I wouldn't worry about it. If you can't even get one thickness of one washer in, I definitely would not worry about it. So yeah, just showing you. I can see that this is probably, mashed in a little bit in here, a little bit. So, obviously the space between these 2 ears is not what it was when it left the factory. I know way back when they used to sell replacement idlers that you had to use those, goofy urethane washers, and then you had to sandwich everything together and, mash the crap out of it to get it to stay. I went through 1 or 2 of those way back when on the Slant 6K member, and it kind of boogered it up. These Moog / TRW ones that have the metal bearing on this end, these are definitely the way to go. So I'm not going to sweat it on this. I'm just going to put it together like that. I'm going to take it back out, obviously, and put the rubber washers and stuff back in. But I think we're good to go. And I also did do a little clearancing on the header, so hopefully that'll give me a little more room on this when it swings around. Hey, just showing it's impossible to even get this washer to go down in there. There's no way that's going to go. Yeah. Yeah, so you can't even get the thickness of one of those washers to go through. Yeah, I'd say not an issue to leave those out. Might have been an issue before it got squashed 30 years ago. I ran out in the rain this morning and grabbed some multi-purpose grease that's, how do they say it? Moly fortified extreme pressure grease, and that's molybdenum. That's a mouthful, isn't it? Molybdenum is a really good anti-wear additive that basically coats both surfaces of the metal that would rub together, which is really good for like shock loading, like ball joints, things like that. And it doesn't hurt to use it on other stuff. What I really caught my eye was the dropping point of 500 degrees, which I guarantee you, this Master Pro generic grease, which I think Master Pro is, that's O'Reilly stuff. I bought these mini ones. I usually would pack my own grease gun with better grease, but I got lazy lately, and my mini grease gun, which I used to use on the Duster a lot because it's easy to get into the headers, around the headers and stuff, and then you just work that handle. I like those. But anyway, I'm going to put that in this new grease gun, and the reason I bought a new one is I had been using this one for a long time. This is Dad's old grease gun from like 1960. It does have a new hose on it. I replaced it like, I guess, a couple years ago. The original hose finally gave up the ghost. But I never really paid much attention to it, other than it does say, I don't know if you can read that okay, it says Adams, New York, USA. So you know it's old, it's made in USA. And the Adams part is worn off of the handle, because this has probably been wiped down a gazillion times. This is just full of that blue Wally World Super Tech blue marine grease, and I use that on my vintage lake boat. I oil all the pivots on it, and I also oil the wheel bearings. I have those, what do they call them, bearing buddies. And I use that just strictly for that. I don't want to use what is most likely a non-moly grease, and maybe not the highest dropping point grease, which you don't need on a boat. That's fine. But this, because I know, with the header surrounding this here, it's a problem. Even though it's probably not rubbing now. Those headers, God only knows how much heat they generate, down around where this is. So I would think a grease with a dropping point of probably like 180, 200 degrees when it's not listed versus 500. This will keep the oil from dropping out of the carrier, which in this case is gray lithium complex. So basically it's a metallic soap, lithium based, and it does have molybdenum, gosh, that's a mouthful, added as the extreme pressure additive, which to me is a really good thing to have for chassis lubricant. It's going to save on the ball joints and stuff, but that dropping point has really got me there. I know there's higher dropping points. I think you could even find even a higher dropping point, maybe even at Walmart or online. I think I've used dropping point as high as 650 before. But yeah, again, I got kind of lazy on those, and probably for the last 5 or 6 years I've probably been using the generic grease. Maybe not the best idea on this setup, but anyway, I'll get this cartridge loaded into my new grease gun, and then we'll get that greased up and throw it in the car. Hey, thought it might be neat just to show you pumping a little grease through this gusher bearing. Let's see if I can line it up enough so you can actually see it go in. Yep, see that? Yeah, it's basically oozing out one spot, but I guess the idea is eventually it works into those grooves. Kind of cool. Hopefully you can see it come around the other one, so I guess it doesn't do that. So probably have to put the washer on it and work it from there. But you can see the slots there. Those actually is what the gusher bearing is. It's old technology. I think it was like 50s technology, but it works. I know the firm feel that one of the subscribers brought up that has a kit that you can either install it in a Moog only, where you replace this with a ball bearing, which I think would make that a lot better because it'll take a lot of the friction out of the steering. I think that's a super good idea. I'm working on a tight budget this year, so I'm just going to go with the Rock Auto one that I stole for like $14. The only thing I wish that Fernfield did, and I know they do sell their own idler, which is probably a Moog as well that they've converted. I'm guessing this part doesn't get fooled with. So I think that's the part I really have the issue with as far as longevity. But, it is what it is. But it looks like the new grease gun's working good. It has a nice little air valve thingy here too. The other one doesn't have that. Kind of cool. Makes it a lot easier to purge the air out and get it pumping. Okay, I got the Pitman arm. Idler arm. Not Pitman arm. I've got it torqued down to 65. Let me get this light out of the way. I don't think that's doing us any good here. I don't know if I showed you all this before. Even with headers on, I can get in there with a wrench. Kind of weird. I think I had to reach in through here to get it up there. And torque this down to 65. And there's zero play in this. It's in there just like it should be. It tightened right up. So it's not mounted in there loose. And I tell you what, it takes a fair amount of force to move this. And I know after you drive them for a little bit, they loosen up. But I guess that's where having like, some type of roller bearings in there instead of that, that big, basically a plain bearing. I'll just show you what I did on the vise. And of course I'm leaving this in here. I'm going to clamp it in a different way. I'm going to cut this thing apart and we'll show what the innards are like. But I've got this stuck in the vise and just showing here, it takes a fair amount of force to move this, and it's been in the car for 10 years and it still has not a huge drag, but nothing like what's in the car right now. This is probably a third the amount of effort it takes to move it, but they still stay tight, which obviously that's what you want, right? So you don't have slop in it. But I guess you could get that same no slop, with roller bearings, which would probably be a superior setup. But again, I'm kind of working on a tighter budget this year, so we'll just let that one be. And I'm not going to show you guys putting the rest of it together. All I got to do is just slip the center link back on there. Hey, just sharing one other tidbit of information. Going off of memory too. It's been a long time since I've worked on this stuff down here. This part right here, I think is more of a, I think it's more of a ball and socket. So it has a tendency to pivot. But this side doesn't. So that's why if you're changing out an idler, it's okay to drop this center link down or drag link, because you got some room. But if you're doing the opposite, if you're dropping the Pitman arm, I seem like I remember I had to disconnect here as well, which is kind of a pain. You don't want to booger up the bushing because I think you risk damaging this if you wrench on that, taking that side off, if I remember. But obviously if the idler's already shot, it doesn't matter. But just pointing that out, I think that's what I had to do years ago, because I think I had put an idler on and then I had the Pitman arm go, and kind of frustrating. But this one looks to be in good shape. It doesn't have a lot of slop in it. Obviously it does move back and forth just like a tie rod end would. So I think we're good there. Looks like I got a little bit of a leak on the power steering. Tell you what would have been nice if this was I kind of looked at it before. This one I believe has got, of course you can't really hardly see with the Pitman arm in place. I don't think this has a snap ring holding the outer dust seal on. So I think the way you replace these is you have to take it apart and drive it out from the top. And getting this box out with the headers in is a tall order. So that kind of sucks. Hey, just showing you there's a shiny spot on the driver's side as well where it was rubbing before. You can see it. Move the steering linkage out of the way just a little bit more. You can see that shiny spot right there where it was just starting to rub and have a problem. So again, raising this engine you know, obviously I think over a quarter of an inch, probably close to a half an inch, is going to make a huge difference. So, and just kind of looking at the grease here on this. Luckily for me, that's a ball and socket. I don't think there's a piece of rubber on the, oh, here it is, on the pitman shaft end. So, but that grease looks kind of gnarly too. And this thing was, I don't think it's been 1,000 miles since this was greased. But I'm going to get in there and grease that as well. You can see the fitting right there. It's kind of hard to get to. I kind of have to come in, I think, over this way, come in through there, and then loop around, or come in from the top. I don't remember. It's always a little tight getting to that. Or maybe if I got a long enough hose, I can come in from underneath the header and loop it around. But I'll get those. You can see I got this fitting capped. I actually removed it, sawed it off, welded it shut, and screwed it back in because this Moog Problem Solver tie rod end, inner tie rod end, was considerably taller than the factory one, and it was digging into my 340 sway bar. That just pisses me off too. But doing that fixed it. You know, I have been just kind of working the steering linkage back and forth to make sure there's no flex here. Everything here is good and tight, so I feel pretty good about that. Hey, just showing you all as it travels through its arc. I got the wheels turned full left, and I'm just going to manually push this way. Oh, boy, that's hard to do one-handed. I'm just showing you. Show you there's a big blob of grease around that new part. Boy, that's hard. Moses. And you can see how close that comes. Oh boy, doing a jam up job here. So it's got adequate clearance. It doesn't come anywhere close to how rude I got cut off. Anyway, as you can see, it doesn't come anywhere close to touching. And that big blob of grease is trying to touch, but there's still plenty of clearance. So I'm good. I'm happy with that. That's and I did go in and clearance the header a little more, so I'm real good. I know from this angle it doesn't look great from here, but I've got a ton of room, so I'm good. Mission accomplished. And it doesn't look like there's any slop in the steering now. It's really tight. Just like when I move this back and forth now, you know, it doesn't move at all. So that's good. And it'll probably be a little stiff for a little while until that, you know, pivot on the K-member end until it breaks in a little bit. They're always a little firm. But anyway, we'll call that mission accomplished. So, if you all have been watching, it's a lot easier to get on the floor than to get back off of it. I got her all back together. Belts, fan, shroud, everything. So looks like the timing chain cover job turned out really good. I'm happy with that. So it's kind of cruddy weather out here today. Yeah, not so great. It's probably not going to get driven today. I don't like to get these cars wet much anymore. Kind of slows on the rusting process, you know. But next time, we'll take it for a spin. I'm getting kind of tired, so I think I'll finish cleaning up the shop because it's yeah. But I do want to hack this thing open. I think I'll just do like a quick, you know, 3-minute video on that or something to show you all that. And it is interesting to see how this is put together. Kind of shock and awe too. I was surprised that they put inside of those what they do. And again, just reminding y'all, this was, I believe, a TRW part. I'll go back and check my records again. I'm pretty sure, I looked at them last night actually, but my memory's not the best. I'm pretty sure it was a TRW. Kind of weird, but anyway, same casting number and all that. We went through that earlier. So, hey, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.